Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from Clicking Pop. AITA for to divorcing my husband, whom I caught naked with my sister. Does he deserve a second chance? I, F35, was married to my husband, M42, for 8 years. We have 2 kids together, a son, 9, and a daughter, 7. I thought our life was stable and happy until everything unraveled 7 months ago. I found out that my husband was cheating on me with my younger sister, 24. I didn't discover it through subtle clues or intuition. My son overheard an inappropriate conversation between the two of them at a family gathering and came to me, confused and upset. When I confronted my husband, he denied it at first, but eventually admitted to the affair. I was utterly shattered, but what made it even worse was that my mom sided with my husband and sister. She defended their actions, saying, "Your sister is young and doesn't know any better, and your husband must have felt neglected to fall for someone else." Then she had the audacity to suggest I forgive them and keep the family together for the kids. I was stunned and disgusted. My dad, on the other hand, was furious. He called out my mom's behavior, told her she was enabling betrayal, and eventually filed for divorce from her because he couldn't tolerate her lack of morals. He's been one of my few sources of support throughout all of this. I filed for divorce immediately and cut off my mom and sister completely. My kids have been struggling with the fallout. My son is especially angry and has told me he doesn't want anything to do with his dad. My daughter is quieter, but has been acting out in small ways. We've been going to therapy together, and I've been doing everything I can to help them navigate this while also trying to heal myself. Over the past few months, I've started putting my life back together. I've focused on my kids, leaned on my dad and close friends for support, and even started dating someone new, F36. She's been incredible, kind, understanding, and supportive. She's great with my kids, and they've grown to love her, which makes me feel like I can finally see a light at the end of the tunnel. But the chaos isn't over. My sister's relationship with my ex-husband has completely fallen apart. Shocking, right? Now she's blaming my mom, saying she encouraged the whole thing. My mom, meanwhile, is blowing up my phone, accusing me of tearing the family apart by refusing to forgive them. She says my new relationship is a slap in the face to our family and claims I'm being selfish for not letting her or my sister back into my life. To top it off, my ex-husband has been reaching out, begging for forgiveness and asking for a second chance. He's telling me it was all a mistake and that he misses me and the kids. My son and daughter both want nothing to do with him, but I'm conflicted about how much of a relationship, if any, they should have with their father. My dad and friends say I'm doing the right thing by cutting out toxic people and focusing on rebuilding my life. But the guilt tripping from my mom and sister is starting to wear me down, and I'm wondering if I'm being too harsh. Should I try to reconcile with my mom and sister for the sake of family? Should I give my ex more of a chance to be involved for the sake of the kids? AITA for divorcing my husband, cutting off my mom and sister, and moving forward with my life and new relationship? Edit. I have changed my number, and I'm currently moving. No, I don't speak to any of my ex-husband's family, and apparently the snitch was my aunt and her husband. Are we shocked? So I'm officially not speaking to them. And for the people complaining about the fact my kids know my girlfriend, so what? My children adore her. Also for the custody. It's 60-40, meaning I can choose which schedule the kids can have with their father, since I'm the primary. No, I'm not forcing my kids to not speak to their dad. They've told me numerous times that they don't like going to my ex-husband's house, and I respect that. I'm currently going for full custody. For the people telling me to get a restraining order, my lawyer said they haven't done anything to endanger my children, and I legally can't get one. My dad also has some suspicions that my mom cheated on him with how she was defending the affair. OP is not an AH for demanding a divorce. OP's husband is an AH for having a secret affair with OP's sister. OP's mother is also an AH for supporting OP's husband and sister. OP's decision to cut off contact with her sister and mother is completely justified. So, I would rate OP's husband 3.5, OP's sister 2.5, and OP's mother 2 out of 5, and OP 0 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from Pleasant-Iron-8508. AITA for not wanting to go on a Christmas cruise with my sister and her kids. I, 37F, have 2 kids, 11F and 9M, with my husband, 37M. We celebrate Christmas every year with my sister, 40F, and brother, 42M, and their kids, as well as our parents, 67M and 67F. My sister's oldest is also 11. Her son Sherman is in the same K-6 elementary school my daughter Everly is in. They are both in 6th grade. Sherman and Everly used to be pretty close. They started drifting apart a few months ago when Everly started dating Dayton, 11M. I thought this was just Everly getting caught up in silly preteen love. That was until Sunday. We invited my sister and brother and their families over to help make baked goods for an upcoming holiday bake sale at the school. Dayton was with us. Once my sister arrived with her kids, Dayton ran into our basement and Everly followed him. I wanted to see what they were doing, so I went to go in there and saw they locked the door to the basement, which Everly knows she isn't allowed to do. So I started knocking on the door until Everly opened it and asked me to come inside and talk, so I went in the basement. She told me that Sherman and his best friend Alan, 11M, have a history of bullying Dayton. She gave me multiple examples. Dayton plays basketball, and that's his biggest passion in life. Sherman and Alan have repeatedly called Dayton and his friends stupid jocks. This is despite the fact that at a recent trivia bowl at the school, Dayton and 2 of his basketball teammates beat Sherman, Alan, and another boy and won the championship. I was there and didn't see any problems, but I was told the day after in school, Sherman and Alan said that they only won because of the CK on the team, referring to a Filipino-American boy in their class and a close friend of Dayton. Dayton reported this to the teacher of the class Alan and Sherman are in, and both lost recess for a week and got a phone call home. They also mock his religious beliefs. Our family is atheist, and so is Alan's family. Dayton's family is also atheist, but he started to go to church with the aforementioned Filipino boy. His family is quite active in the Salvation Army near us, and Dayton is a Christian and involved with them. Dayton has never tried to preach to anyone to my knowledge, but he does have a Bible bracelet thing he got off the TikTok shop and wears a cross necklace. I know his faith is important to him, and Alan and Sherman have mocked him for praying at lunch. I went up to my sister Answer, asked to talk to her in my bedroom. I mentioned everything that happened, and she said that Dayton and Everly were exaggerating some light teasing, and accused their teacher of pushing an agenda to go after Alan and Sherman. She said that she has things under control and not to worry. I went back downstairs and told Everly and Dayton to stay down. I told my sister that if she didn't make Sherman apologize, that they would have to leave. She tried to gear Sherman to apologize, but he refused and doubled down. He was laughing and clearly had no remorse for his actions. I told my sister she needed to go home and talk to Sherman. Alan and his family were also supposed to come on the cruise. I was able to get Alan's mom's Facebook and messaged her there. She defended her son and called Dayton a crybaby. I tried contacting my sister again, and she started to yell at me for contacting Alan's mom and trying to embarrass the boys. I told her that if she didn't get her son in line, I would be fine missing the cruise and losing the money and taking my kids and Dayton somewhere nice, and texted Dayton's parents about what went down, who told me more stories about mean things the boys told Dayton's other friends. My mother started texting me after I got off with my sister asking me to pick up. She said that I can't just abandon my family over this, and said that my sister and I need to come together and compromise. I told her that I wasn't going to compromise on standing against bigoted 11-year-old pricks. AITA? OP is not an age for prioritizing her children's well-being. OP's sister is an age for not taking accountability of her child's behavior. OP's reaction is completely justified. She did nothing wrong. So, I would rate OP's sister 2.5 and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from Bakewell Fart. AITA for excluding my niece because she's disabled? I, my sisters, and my friends like to hang together, and because everyone's got kids except me and one other friend we usually host at one of their houses, because it's almost impossible for everyone to get childcare. So we just go to whoever can't get a sitter for the night. We will have some wine, some of the girls smoke weed, etc. But it's not a party, nothing inappropriate, and if any of the kids came downstairs or needed a responsible adult, etc., they they'd find a ton. The problem started when one of the group's daughters, 13, wanted to stay down with us for a bit after bed. Her mom said sure. She showed us some TikTok dances that we all tried and failed at, and we all had a laugh. She went to bed when asked, and it was fine. A week after we do it at my sister's home, and when I get there, I'm surprised her daughter, the niece I refer to in my title, 11, is still up. I give her a hug and say she's lucky to have such a late night, and she says, oh, the party's just getting started. I was confused but just laughed. For context, she's got ADHD and autism, and sometimes just says things that to her make sense but baffle me. I too have ADHD, so I don't get what she's talking about, but I get that to her she's probably just made a hilarious joke. Anyway, I asked my sister what time is Leia, niece, going to bed, and she said, oh, whenever she's too tired. And I'm like, but you know she's a mare when she's tired? And she kind of just brushes me off saying that she's getting older now and wants to join in like our friend's daughter did the last time. Anyway, everyone else arrives and it's just a nightmare. She dominated every conversation, gets frustrated, keeps doing random attention-seeking behavior like pretending to grab the wine bottle, etc. All the things you can expect when a divergent kid who craves routine is thrown off and tired, basically. Lots of the kids in the group are divergent, lots of the mums are single, so we all love and understand each other's kids. But the whole point of this time is to be away from the kids and just be ourselves. The night ended with everyone having to leave early, as me and my sister had to wrestle Leia into her room with her screaming, crying, and fully melting down. I know it sounds dramatic because she's 11, but she's 5, 7, and quite overweight, so she nearly threw me down the stairs during this altercation. I didn't say anything to my sister in the moment. Even though we all knew this would happen, she looked embarrassed and defeated, and I felt like she just wanted her kid to be able to join in like the others can. I just said, well done for trying your best. So, anyway, the next session rolls around, and I volunteered to make a curry, so we are hosting at mine. I nearly thought it was a mirage when I saw my niece walking up my driveway with my sister. I'm like, is everything okay? Is Mac okay? Her husband who would be looking after my niece. And my sister just says, oh yes, I just thought I'd give him the night off. They both just walk in and I'm confused, but also starting to panic. When my niece comes round, I hide my PlayStation, my valuables, anything breakable. Not cash, she's not a thief, she's just so destructive, and you just don't know what's going to happen if she has a meltdown. I'm not prepared, and I tell my sister this. She's got her back up and says how it's fine, and Leia just wanted to prove herself after last week. Literally, as she's saying this, I hear something heavy drop upstairs. It's my porcelain doll from my great-grandmother, and it's smashed, completely. I look at my niece, and she's panicking, flustered, apologizing, and now I'm even more scared, because I know I need to get her down the stairs before she fully melts down, because I don't have a safe room for her to smash up. Me and my sister manage to get her into the car, and my sister says nothing. I am reassuring my niece, trying to stop her from freaking out and going ape, but my sister's just in silence. They left once she was somewhat calm, and I text my sister saying I don't blame her for the doll, and I don't blame her for her daughter wanting to be involved with the big girls, but she can't show up unannounced with her, especially not when it's supposed to be girls' night, and she knows I'm totally child-free, so my home isn't baby-proof. Never mind, Leia-proof. Since then, she won't speak to me. She's talking to the rest of the group and everything, and told one person she isn't talking to me because I ostracize her daughter because she's disabled. I've tried to message her. I even showed up at her house. She just closed the curtains. I just want my baby sister back, and I honestly just feel awful. But at the same time, I don't think I'm asking for much. The rest of the group say they agree with me. But IDK if everyone's just trying to play nice to everyone. I don't even really care if I'm the... I'm honestly just more interested in if anyone knows how I can fix this. We have never fallen out like this, but TBH, I do very much have to be the bigger person a lot. So IDK if she's done with me or just being Marty. This has just never happened before. OP is not an AH for hosting a child-free gathering. OP's sister is an AH for breaking the rules of the gathering and bringing her daughter. OP's reaction is completely justified. Her frustration is valid. So I would rate OP's sister 1.5 and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from Gazunga, AITA for yelling at my mother after she kept pestering us about grandchildren. I am 26, and my girlfriend of 6 years, F27, are staunchly child-free. We're each our own kind of autistic, and neither of us want children because of how neurotic we can be at times. We do quite well for ourselves and have plenty of disposable incomes because we kick-started our careers early and saved early on. I'm a journeyman electrician and in the process of getting my electrical engineering degree, and my girlfriend is on her way to becoming a nurse practitioner. We're both super busy, as you can imagine, with both work and school and such, and it can get rough at times, but we manage. My father passed away a year ago, and it sent shockwaves throughout our small family. And now my mother moved in with us after selling her house because she was getting too old to live on her own. She had me at 34 and she lived out in the country, so it wasn't the safest for her. She cooks and cleans while we work, buys the groceries with her SS, and generally tries to make herself useful even though we tell her it isn't necessary. We appreciate her efforts due to how busy we are. Our diets absolutely have improved, LOL. But we're worried because doesn't have a lot of hobbies, and oftentimes doesn't know what to do with herself. I'm not sure why she hasn't looked for any hobbies, but that's her choice, I suppose. I'm her only child, and recently, over the past few months, she's started to pester the both of us about giving her grandchildren she can spoil. At first, I made a joke about our cat being her grandchild, and she thought it was funny but didn't stop. I figured it was just a phase, and that she'd move on, but she didn't. Every day she just kept making these little comments about grandchildren and that our kids would be adorable. It was easy to ignore at first, but she wouldn't stop. Then one day I had a hard week at work and didn't get enough sleep at all. And while she was making breakfast the next morning, she kept bringing it up and kept trying to make it into a serious conversation, talking about how a grandchild would make her so happy. I finally snapped and told her to let it go, and I got loud. Nothing serious. But I did tell her she was unbearable when all she thought about was grandchildren, and I couldn't understand why she couldn't just get the f over the fact that me and my SO were child-free and happy. She continued the rest of the meal in silence and proceeded to give me the cold shoulder for the rest of the day. That was several weeks ago. She's like a completely different person now. She still cooks and cleans and stuff, but she barely talks at all. And when there's nothing to do, she just sits on the couch and rots away, eyes glazed over as she watches Family Feud, Antique Roadshow, and whatever else old people watch. She never wants to go anywhere or do anything, especially not with us. Whenever I try to have a conversation with her that's more than discussing a basic necessity, she just gives me a dirty, bitter look, and I usually back off. She just dies whatever chores she sets out to do that day. We don't require anything from her. This is all out of her own volition, and then just watches TV. Watching is a strong word, more like she just sits there and just rots. I can't think of a better word for it. So recently me and my girlfriend were talking, and we found a great deal on a cruise and decided to go since we had amassed a lot of PTOs. We bought the tickets and surprised her with one, thinking a cruise from Budapest to Amsterdam would cheer her up. She just glowered at the tickets like I had handed her a bag of dog shit as a birthday gift, and then asked me what it was for. I told her that we wanted to go on a cruise with her to maybe cheer her up and help her get out of the house. Her response? Why did you start to pretend that you care about my happiness all of a sudden? I want nothing to do with this. Go refund it. I felt so dirty when she said that, like I couldn't even be in the same room as her. And I left the house entirely for a few hours to go get some fresh winter air, and even now I'm still processing what the hell is going on. My mother is like a completely different person now, and I don't know if it's my fault or not. AITA? Did I cause this? OP is not an AH for being clear in her statement. OP's mother is an AH for invading their privacy and trying to pressure her into having a child. OP and her husband have already agreed to remain child-free. Her mother should show some support for their decision instead of accusing OP. So, I would rate OP's mother 2.5 and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump onto the next story from Clear Equivalent 7210. AITA. If I confronted and told the truth of my mom for cheating and disappearing for a year? Me, 14M, Mom, 45F, Dad, 50M, Brother, 17M. Around 3-ish years ago, I woke up from a nap and went into my dad's office, just to see what he was doing. I was next to him when I looked down on his desk and saw a divorce paper. I of course was confused, then broke down, and my dad had the idea of going down to church and talk about it. But he didn't want to tell my mom because that would make things messy, and we both weren't ready for that, so we tell her we're going to get snack. Once we are at the church, we had a talk, and I asked a lot of questions like why, and he asked, "You know how mom hasn't been around for a while?" I reply yes, and he tells me some excuse for why she was out for such a long time. Sorry, I don't really remember what he said. Maybe a day or two later we were in the car, and I asked him if mom was cheating, because I was confused on why she would file for divorce for no reason, and he says yes. He also tells me how he hired a private investigator to see what my mom was doing while she was away. Turns out she was with her new boyfriend. Let's call him Brian. This, of course, kind of shocked me and broke me. Over next few days, I asked my dad about Brian and if he had a family, and of course he did. I also asked where they were going if he had a family, and apparently they were going to a friend's house. And I also remember going to that house with my mom before she started disappearing. I also remember one of her friends being there, let's call her Candle. And my dad goes on to tell me how Candle had a kid with a really rich guy, then divorced him, and got full custody, so he had to pay child support. And as me and my dad got closer because of this, we would go out and he would tell me some things like misery loves company, and how he suspects Candle got mom into cheating. My mom would also always lie to us and tell us she was going to one of her friends' houses because a dog died or a friend needed help with something. And we all had to go along with the lies. I also promised my dad I wouldn't tell my older brother. My dad also asked me if I wanted to keep hearing about this stuff. I said yes, but really didn't want to because it was destroying me on the inside, and I was just hiding it. I also said yes because I thought it helped my dad, because it gave him someone to talk about this stuff. And listen. Also, forgot to mention this, but Brian has 4 kids, 2 older boys, and 2 girls. One of the girls has Down syndrome and is nonverbal. I don't know the ages of them. So when Brian and my mom were going to friend's house, he left his wife to deal with them on her own, like my dad. Then my dad comes to me and says how he is about to call a family meeting and announce the divorce to me and my brother, and told me to act like I didn't know anything. So, my dad and mom sit me and my brother down, and my mom tell us how they both wanted to get a divorce and so on. Months after, and my mom had moved out, I started getting really depressed and started to cut myself, because I blamed myself a lot for the things my mom did. I even wrote notes on listing reasons on why I want to commit suicide, but like an idiot, I left this note out, and whilst I was at school, my mom was cleaning the house and found this note, and the same day me and my brother get called out of school. This was a shock to me, and my brother and my dad takes us out to an art festival. After the festival, my dad tells me that him and my mom were about to talk to me about the note my mom found, so we sit down and talk, and I talk about how my mom disappearing for a year really sucked for me, and mom was apologizing, but I think that was because she only had to be sorry in the moment. My dad then goes on to tell me he is signing me up for therapy. Long story short, I lied in therapy to make my dad look good, and got nothing from it. Timeline so far. Me finding out about the divorce. October, November, announcement of divorce. December, mom moving into apartment. January, therapy. February. Skip to 6 to 5 months ago. I was finally introduced to Brian. My mom made me play drums for him, and wanted me to let him play on my kit, so I put my heart and soul into the fills I was playing to make him intimated to play. And it worked. I don't want him touching my stuff, especially my drums. But after this, I went to my dad's, and he again gives me a heads up that he is going to call me and my brother and talk to us about the private investigator stuff. So now, I don't need to hide it from my brother. This timeline is going to get messy. Fast forward a year, and it's again around Christmas time, and I'm at my grandmother's on my mom's side playing pool, and my grandpa got drunk, and was telling me and my brother how strong my mom is, and how good of a mother she is. This confirming my theory that my mom told her family that she was the good guy, and that she sacrificed a lot of stuff for us. Now fast forward to like 2 months ago, I went to go see the movie We Live in Time, and my mom picked me up slightly drunk with her mom and a friend of hers, both of them super drunk, and I essentially have to babysit them, and the friend tells me again how strong of women she is, and how she's a great mom. These comments always crush me on the inside, because they don't know the truth, and I'm being told my mom's great because she disappeared for a year. AITA for confronting my mom and telling my family about the truth, or should I drop it, because it was so long ago? OP is not an AH for investigating her mother's private affair. OP's mother is an AH for being unfaithful in her relationship with OP's father. OP's reaction is completely justified. He is emotionally devastated by her mother's actions. So, I would rate OP's mother 3.5 and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.